Hello, this is Mara Jane, and you're listening to The Unseen Perspective. Hello, and welcome back to The Unseen Perspective. I'm your visually impaired host, Mara Jane, and today we are going to be starting off with our Assistive Technology Inventory series with our first device. Now, this is a device that I use pretty regularly, that's why I chose to do it first. Its name is also pretty early in the alphabet, so that also played a factor. So, what is this device? Well, it's basically just a braille computer. You can do all sorts of things on it, and it doesn't have a screen, and its keyboard is minimalistic. So, what is it? Well, this is my BrailleNote Apex. So, what does it do? Well, like I said, it's basically just a braille computer. So, it can do pretty much anything a laptop or a desktop computer could do, but it's just a braille version. So, I will now explain what it looks like, and for those of you who are watching, I will also show it. So, it's basically just a black rectangle with, let's see, how big is it? About 7 by 4 inches, if I had to guess. Maybe a little wider, I'm not sure. But it has, I think, 32 cells, don't quote me on that, on the bottom braille display. So there's a refreshable braille display, and people often ask me, well, where's the screen? If this is a computer, it should have a screen. Well, this is basically the screen equivalent. It's not actually a screen, but it's a refreshable braille display. So this is where you would read or view, for lack of a better term, what you were doing. And right above that is some buttons. There's one button above each cell, and clicking those buttons just takes your cursor to above, or to the cell which the button is above. So above the refreshable braille display is the keyboard. So the keyboard only has 9 keys on it, which may seem odd to someone who only uses print, because obviously like a QWERTY keyboard or any kind of print keyboard has a lot more keys than that. So why are there so few keys? Well, you actually only need 6 keys to type braille, not counting the space bar, the return key, and the delete key. And so every braille letter or symbol or number is just a different combination of dots in a 6-cell system. So you only need 6 buttons, obviously, to type these different combinations. You don't need all the individual letters and numbers and symbols. So that is that. Obviously there's, like I said, a return key and a delete key on either side, and a space bar kind of down in the middle. And above the space bar in the middle of the keyboard is a scroll wheel, which I don't use that often, but it can be used to navigate through menus or documents or books or whatever you're doing on the BrailleNote. So now for the sides of the machine. So in the front, there are these thumb keys that you can use to navigate through books or documents or menus, whatever you're doing. Front, back, I did that backwards. Front, back, super front, super back. I don't use those outer keys very often. But on the left side of the machine, there is a restart button, on and off switch, and a couple of earphone jacks. On the back of it are all sorts of plugs like USBs, SD cards, things like that, so you can plug in wherever your files are stored. And then on the right side is where you plug in the device if you want to charge it. So, speaking of charging, the battery life of this thing is pretty good. It'll last several days. But it is a little bit annoying because I actually had a battery in it that would not last very long at all, so I had to replace it, and now I have a weird battery that goes, like, the battery goes up and down, but it does last longer and it does work better, I think, so I'm grateful for that. So now that you are kind of oriented with the device, and if you're blind or visually impaired and you use one of these a lot, I'm sorry for boring you. But yeah, I'm gonna continue to bore you. So now we're gonna see how it works and what you can do on it. So I'm gonna turn it on. Alright, it says main menu on the display. So I'm going to turn the speech on. I don't usually use it, but for the sake of this video, I think it'll be helpful. Turning the volume up. There it is. So I'm in the main menu, obviously, like I said. So I'm going to scroll through the menu items first, just so you can see what's on here.
Word processor, planner, address list, email, internet, chat, media center, navigation, book reader, scientific calculator, database manager, games, extensions, X, file manager, utilities, terminal for screen reader, keyboard learn. For information, press space with I. For the options menu, press space with O anywhere. End of menu.
So yeah, that's the main menu.
Main menu.
And so you can do all those things in this nice little compact Braille device. So what I use the most probably is the word processor. So let's go there.
Word processor, keyword menu.
Now we're inside that application, and you can create a document, open a document, you can make a quick note, or you can print or emboss your documents. And again, embossing is just printing, but in Braille. So let's create a document.
Create a document. Folder name, presenter for the unseen perspective.
Well, that we're already on the folder for my podcast, so that's handy. But I have a lot of folders on here, both within the BrailleNote and in an SD card that I have inserted in the BrailleNote currently. So let's just go to that folder that we're on.
Document to create.
So now we can type in a title name for our document. So let's just say demonstration. I forgot how to spell.
Demonstration. Top of document.
Okay. So now we're in a blank document and we can type.
Hello.
Oh, I can sound like Stephen Hawking. But anyways, so yeah, you can type in this and obviously it'll read to you if you have the speech on. But let me type some more. So I just typed, hello, it's Mara Jane. And it shows up down here on at the bottom of the BrailleNote on the refreshable Braille display. So that's how you read it if the speech is off, which my speech is usually off. But if I make a new line and I type something else, so you heard that, it said this is a test. So now I can navigate between sentences using the thumb keys. Ooh, that means I reached the top of my document and I can't go any further. So I can also use certain keyboard commands to move around, and it'll also read it to me since I have the speech on. So to go from sentence to sentence, you can click the space bar with dots 1 and 4, 1 or 4.
Hello, it's Mara Jane. This is a test.
And to go between words, you can do space with dots 2 or 5.
New line, Jane, Mara, it's, hello, it's, Mara, Jane, new line.
And to go between characters, you can do space with dots 3 or 6.
New line.
And to go between paragraphs, you can do space with dots 2 and 3 or space with dots 5 and 6. So I guess I should have explained this before, but for those of you who aren't Braille readers or typers, and if you're watching this, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you've ever heard of something called a swing cell, it's basically something that shows different orientations of a Braille cell. So you can see it, vertically or horizontally, and that kind of helps with beginning Braille readers so they know how to read it and how to type it because it is kind of a different orientation. Okay, so now that we've explored the word processor a little bit, let's go to something else that I do quite often, the book reader.
Main menu. Read book in which folder? Presenter for my books.
So obviously, my books.
Book name. Presenter for Star Wars Brotherhood.drf.
So that's the book I'm reading right now. But let's see what other books I have.
List of A Christmas Carol. Immortal.drf.
Oh my gosh.
Double Apprentice 2.drf. Double Gathering Blue.drf. I 2 Underlined Q.drf. JA03. The Hidden Past.dr. JA04.
So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. But
Sun.drf. Star Wars Brotherhood.drf.
let's go to that because that's what I'm reading right now.
Review previous options.
Nope.
Oh. Please wait. 2 spaces.
Okay, so now I'm inside a book, which is obviously just a much bigger document that I didn't write, someone else wrote it. So I downloaded it onto my BrailleNote, and now I read just by reading one line at a time with the thumb keys. And I can also navigate in here with the same keyboard commands that I was using in the word processor. So the sentence,
He considered the current placement of all the things around him, from the guards behind to the civilians in front.
you know, or paragraphs,
Sniper rifle trained on him.
or
And new line. Heights period. Such.
words,
Space. E-L-A.
characters, all that good stuff. So you can also, there's a find feature, so if you're lost or you want to find a certain place in the book, you can just press F.
Find. Search forward or back.
Then you can search forward or back, but I'm not going to do that right now because I'll probably lose my place in the book. Okay,
Main menu.
so that's basically the book reader. It's very simple. That's another good thing about this device is it's pretty simple. I think it's pretty user-friendly. So what else do I use? I don't use this so much anymore, but the media player is
Media menu.
something that I used to use a lot, and I think it's still pretty cool. So basically you can record and play back memos. You can also listen to the radio, but I don't do that very often either. So let's record a memo real quick.
Start recording using microphone.
Hello, this is the Unseen Perspective. I'm testing out my BrailleNote recorder.
Start recording using microphone. Start recording using. Start. Exit. Media menu.
So we can exit out of there and
Record a memo. Playback memos.
go to Playback
Playback
Memos,
memos in which folder? Press enter for my memos.
My Memos.
List of memos most recent first in my memos folder.
I can find it. Obviously, it's going to be first since we just recorded it.
19H52M37 Monday, April 29th, 2024 memo.
Hello, this is the Unseen Perspective. I'm testing out my BrailleNote recorder.
19H52M37 Monday, April 29th, 2024 memo.
Beautiful name. But I have a lot of other memos too, but we're not going to go through those because there's a lot and they're probably weird. So, there's also games on here, but I don't really know how they work, and I think it deleted them all. So, but yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do. There's a planner, there's a scientific calculator, there's just all sorts of things. So, very versatile, pretty simple, pretty user-friendly. And like I said multiple times before, it's basically just a computer, but in Braille. And let's see.
Planner, address list, email, internet.
Oh yeah, you can send emails. You can basically text people. You can maybe use a GPS. I haven't figured that out.
Database manager, games, extension, file manager, utilities, terminal for screen reader.
And then you can also change, the settings, and you can connect it to an iPad or a phone or a computer if you want to read what's on the screen in Braille or type in Braille and input it into the computer.
Main menu.
So, another fun thing that I thought I would share with you all is the different voices that are offered on the BrailleNote. So, to go to those settings, we would go to Options menu, so space with O.
Options menu.
Wow, I should make tutorials. And then we would go to R for review voice.
Speech, currently on. Speech, punctuation left.
And then we would find...
Speech synthesizer for English. Speech voice, currently elderly female.
So, right now it's elderly female, because apparently that's what that is. But there's other options that are equally, if not more, disturbing. So let's scroll through them, shall we?
Elderly male. Child. Adult female. Adult male. Elderly female.
So yeah, those are your options. And there's 2 options for your speech synthesizer. So right now mine's eloquence.
Elderly female. Exit. Main menu.
Go away.
Speech,
Thank you.
currently on. Number format, current. Speech synthesizer for English, currently eloquence.
So there's another one called Keynote Gold, which is very disturbing. So I'll display it.
Keynote gold. Error, join value, currently 6. Error, join value, currently 6. Main menu. Word processor. Keyword menu. Folder name, center for the unseen perspective. Document to open, center for demonstration. Topic document. LOA silent. This is a test. End of document.
So yeah,
Speech.
that's
Number format.
that.
Synthesizer for English. Parental available. Speech voice. Currently elderly female.
Let's not do that anymore.
Main menu.
So yeah, those are just a few of many of the features that the BrailleNote has. But that's probably what I use the most, and some of the stuff that I find the most interesting. So if you ever want to hear more about the BrailleNote, or if you have any questions about anything blindness related or visually impaired, or just anything, if you want life advice, I'm here. You can email me at theunseenperspective2024@gmail.com, and you can DM me on Instagram at theunseenperspective2024. And obviously we're on Spotify and YouTube, so we would appreciate your follow or your subscription, and obviously you're listening to our podcast. And we would also appreciate a follow on Instagram. And if you want another great resource and you like podcasts, then you should go check out the KSSB podcast, Discover Podcasting at KSSB. You can listen to them wherever you get your podcasts, and you can follow them on Instagram at KSSB Podcast. And I'm sure they would also be happy to answer your questions as well. But that's all I have for you today. Sorry that was kind of short, but yeah, like I said, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I will be back with you next week for maybe another one of these or maybe something else. But yeah, we'll see. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you'll tune in and look forward to future episodes. But for now, I'm going to sign off. So thank you for listening, and goodbye.